Have you ever had your world turned upside down by just one unexpected moment? That's exactly what happened to me. Imagine standing at the cruise port, your bags packed, sunscreen on, and everything seems perfect, until you receive a text that changes everything. Keep watching to find out what happened next. You won't believe how this simple message shook my world. The morning was as perfect as I had imagined. The sun hung in the sky, its warmth wrapping around me like a promise. The smell of the salty air from the ocean filled my lungs as I stood at the port of Miami. My heart raced with excitement. It was a dream come true, my first ever cruise. I was about to set sail on the vacation I had looked forward to for months, all with my son, his wife, and the grandkids. At 62 years old, this was going to be my first time on a cruise ship. I had planned every detail, from the sunscreen on my face to the straw bag over my shoulder. I even bought 3 new dresses for the formal dinners. I wanted to look good, to feel good, to enjoy a simple dream come true after years of hard work. This was my time, my moment to relax, to be a part of something special with my family. But things were already starting to feel a little off. Daniel, my son, was running late. That was nothing new. Ever since he married Sarah, punctuality had become a luxury. I had learned to expect delays, and I didn't mind. I took a seat on the bench near the boarding area, watching other families, laughing and hugging as they made their way to the ship. The excitement in the air was contagious. I smiled, imagining the fun we'd have as a family on this cruise. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my bag and saw a message from Daniel. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. The words on the screen froze me in place. "Mom, there's been a change of plans. You're not coming with us on the cruise. Sarah prefers it to be just the family. We'll explain better when we get back." I read the message again and again, not believing what I was seeing. My hands began to shake, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind raced. What did this mean? Why wasn't I coming? I had been planning this trip for months, waiting for this moment to spend time with my family. And now, suddenly, I wasn't a part of it. I looked up from my phone, my eyes scanning the scene. I had hoped that this was some sort of mistake, but it wasn't. There they were. On the ship's upper deck, waving, laughing, without me. Daniel, Sarah, and the kids, the family I thought I was a part of, the people I had raised and loved. They didn't even notice me standing there. Or maybe they did and pretended not to. Sarah was adjusting her blonde hair, smiling at something Mason and Chloe were looking at. Daniel was busy with his phone, probably checking to see if I had read his message. It hit me then. I was no longer part of this. Not in the way I thought I was. I was invisible. I grabbed my suitcases, my heart heavy with confusion and hurt. Without a word, I turned and walked away from the port. My legs felt weak. The world around me felt distant. The sound of the waves, the laughter of families, it all felt muffled as I walked away. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The taxi ride home felt like a blur. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what had just happened. I arrived back at my apartment, the place that had once felt like home, but now felt like a prison. It wasn't just the emptiness of the apartment. It was the weight of the realization that my family didn't see me the way I thought they did. I threw my bag on the couch and made my way to my office. I opened the drawer where I kept the important papers. There, inside a blue folder, was the deed to Daniel's house. The house I had bought for them 5 years ago. The house that, on paper, was still mine. I had paid off the last mortgage payment 2 months ago, with my retirement funds. I had done it all for them. For family. I pulled the document out of the folder and stared at it. The house was in my name. They never took the time to transfer it into theirs. Daniel had always said, "It's just bureaucracy, Mom. We'll take care of it later." But now, I saw the truth. It wasn't forgetfulness. It wasn't even bureaucracy. It was convenience. I was a means to an end. A tool to get what they wanted. The tears started to fall, and I wiped them away quickly. I needed to take control of this. I couldn't let them push me aside any longer. I called Mr. Mark, my lawyer, and in that moment, a strange calm washed over me. Not anger, but clarity. For the first time in years, I felt like I knew exactly what I had to do. "The house is legally yours, Helen," Mr. Mark said. "You can sell it, rent it, or do whatever you want with it." That was all I needed to hear. It was time to make a change. It was time to stop being invisible. But I wasn't just going to sell the house. No, I had something bigger in mind. I was going to show them that I was no longer a silent player in their game. But how far would I go? Would they even care? Keep watching, because the story is just getting started. You won't believe what happens next. The phone call with Mr. Mark was a turning point. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of power that I hadn't realized I had been missing. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about getting revenge. It was about reclaiming something that was mine, my self-respect, my life, and my boundaries. For the first time, I wasn't just a mother or grandmother. I was Helen. And that felt good. That felt like freedom. I sat at my desk, staring at the document in front of me, the deed to Daniel's house. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It represented everything. It represented the love, the sacrifices, and the years I had spent putting everyone else's needs before my own. But now? Now it was my time. I closed the drawer, locked it, and went to the kitchen. I needed something to calm my nerves, something to help me think clearly. Chamomile tea. I made a cup and sat down on the balcony, overlooking the city skyline. The lights twinkled in the distance, a reminder that the world was still moving, still turning, and I could still be a part of it. It was a strange sense of peace, mixed with an undercurrent of sadness. But it was a peace I hadn't known in years. As I sat there, sipping my tea, I began to think about everything that had led me here. The years of putting Daniel first. The years of thinking that the more I gave, the more I would be appreciated. The more I gave, the more I was needed. But what had I really gotten in return? A family that didn't see me. A family that had discarded me when I wasn't convenient. But that was about to change. The next few days were a whirlwind. I called Teresa, my realtor friend, and told her I needed to sell a house quickly. "It's a matter of dignity," I said. She understood, no questions asked. We set up a showing for the house. The new owners, a couple named Emily and Robert, were eager to move in. Teresa was quick to find a buyer, and within 3 days, they had made an offer. Cash. No waiting for financing. It was fast, it was simple, and it was exactly what I needed. I felt a little guilty. I had never intended to sell the house out from under Daniel, but this was no longer about him. This was about me. This was about setting boundaries. And for the first time, I felt empowered to make a decision that was right for me, without worrying about anyone else's feelings. I wasn't going to apologize for it. I wasn't going to feel bad for taking control. But there was one thing I had to do before the sale was complete. I had to go to the house. I had a key, one I had kept for emergencies. Daniel had always told me I could come by whenever I wanted. So, I used it. But as I walked through the front door, I was hit by a wave of nostalgia. This had been their home. I had handed them the keys. The memories flooded back. The excitement in Daniel's eyes when he first moved in. Sarah's gratitude when I helped with the down payment. Those were the moments I cherished. The good times. The love we had shared. But it had all changed. I could feel it in the air. The silence in the rooms. The absence of warmth. The photos on the walls, the ones that once featured me, were now fewer. I wasn't in any of the recent pictures. In fact, there weren't many pictures of me at all. I walked through the rooms, taking it all in. In the office, I opened the drawers, looking for any documents related to the house. And that's when I found it. An envelope tucked deep inside one of the drawers, with a lawyer's letterhead on it. Inside was a draft document, titled Property Transfer, dated 3 months ago. But it wasn't signed. It hadn't been presented to me. And that's when I realized, this wasn't an oversight. This wasn't a mistake. This was part of their plan. They had been waiting for the right moment. They had been waiting for me to let go. Waiting for me to give in to their idea of what I should be. But I wasn't going to do that anymore. I grabbed the envelope, shoved it in my purse, and left the house. I had seen enough. The deal was set. The house would be sold. The new owners would take possession in a week. And I would be free. The following week went by quickly. I signed the papers. The sale was final. The money was deposited into my account. And then, it was time to write the letter. The letter that would change everything. I sat down at my desk and began to write. I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. But I needed them to understand. I needed them to see the truth. Daniel and Sarah, I wrote. The house you called home has been sold. It was always legally mine, as you well knew, just as you knew I finished paying off the mortgage 2 months ago using my retirement funds. When I received your message saying I wasn't family enough to join you on the cruise, I finally understood my place in your life. A convenient peripheral place available only when needed. The new owners will move in tomorrow. Your personal belongings have been stored in a storage unit paid for 3 months. The key and address are with Mr. Mark Almeida, whose contact information is attached. I continued, don't bother looking for me. Just as you needed space to grow as a family, I also need space to rediscover who I am besides a disposable mother and grandmother. I signed the letter and placed it on the kitchen table. Next to it, I placed the house deed and the sale contract. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I danced. I put on some music, Aretha Franklin, and spun around the empty living room. The house was empty now, stripped of everything that once made it feel like home. The memories were still there, but they didn't belong to me anymore. I had danced before, many years ago, when I was younger. I had loved to dance. But somewhere along the way, I had forgotten who I was. Tonight, I remembered. As I danced, I felt something inside me shift. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It was liberation. I was no longer invisible. I had taken control of my life. But what would they say when they came back? Would they understand? Or would they try to erase me once again? Keep watching. This story is just beginning, and there's so much more to come. You won't want to miss what happens next. The days following the sale of the house passed in a blur. I felt a sense of peace, but I also felt a strange emptiness. It was as though I had torn away a part of my life that had been with me for so long. The house. The memories. The family. It all felt like a distant dream now, fading into the background as I focused on the next chapter. I didn't hear from Daniel or Sarah for a few days, and at first, I thought maybe they were busy with their own feelings, trying to process everything that had happened. But then the phone calls started. The messages. The apologies. The first call was from Daniel. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what I was doing," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have never pushed you aside like that. Sarah and we didn't realize how much we were taking you for granted. We were wrong." I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to his words. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to just forgive him and move on, as I had always done. But this time felt different. It wasn't just about forgiving him. It was about holding on to my dignity, my strength. I wasn't going to just let it go. "Daniel, I appreciate your apology," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm not ready to forgive just yet. You and Sarah need to understand that your actions have consequences. I'm no longer willing to be the person you turn to only when you need something. I'm not your emotional ATM, and I'm certainly not your backup plan. If you truly want a relationship with me, you'll have to work for it. And that means respect." There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said something I hadn't expected. "I understand, Mom. And I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Just please know that I love you. I always have." I didn't respond right away. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to reach out, to embrace him, but I also knew I had to stay strong. I had to show him that I was serious. "We'll talk later, Daniel. I'm in Paris right now, figuring out my own life. And I need space. I'll let you know when I'm ready." I hung up the phone and sat there for a moment, letting the weight of the conversation sink in. It wasn't easy, but it felt necessary. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was protecting my future. The next few days passed, and I continued to focus on myself. I spent time exploring Paris, immersing myself in its beauty, its culture. I visited museums, walked through the cobbled streets, sat in cafes, and watched the world go by. For the first time in years, I didn't have to think about anyone else. I was free. But even in this freedom, I felt the pull of the past. I missed my grandchildren, Mason and Chloe. I missed the way they used to run into my arms, the way they would sit on my lap and listen to stories. The thought of losing them forever weighed heavily on my heart. I decided to call them. "Hello, Grandma." Chloe's voice bubbled through the phone. "We miss you so much. When are you coming back?" I smiled, feeling a pang of sadness. "I miss you too, sweetheart. But I'm not sure when I'll be back. I'm still figuring things out." "Can you come visit us soon?" Mason asked. "We want to show you the new house. It's not as big as the old one, but it's cozy. We have a tree in the backyard now." I felt a lump form in my throat. The idea of not being there for them, of not being a part of their lives, was almost too much to bear. But I couldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. I had to stay strong. "I'd love to visit, Mason. I promise, I'll come see you when I'm ready." There was a long pause before Chloe spoke again. "Okay, Grandma. But when you come back, can you teach us to paint? We saw some of your pictures, and they're so pretty." My heart warmed at the thought. I had always loved painting, but I had put it aside for so long, thinking it was a frivolous hobby. Now, it felt like a part of me was waking up again. Maybe it was time to teach them what I had rediscovered. I'd love to teach you both how to paint, I said softly. When the time is right, we'll have a painting day, okay? The kids cheered, and my heart swelled with emotion. This was what mattered. This was what I had been fighting for. Not for the house, not for revenge, but for the relationships that truly mattered. Over the next few days, I continued my journey of self-discovery. I painted, I explored Paris, and I met new people who saw me for who I truly was, not just as a mother or a grandmother. I felt seen. For the first time in years, I felt like I was truly living for myself. But then, just as I was beginning to embrace my new life, a message from Sarah appeared on my phone. Helen, I understand now. I'm sorry for how we've treated you. Daniel and I are in therapy, and we're working on ourselves. Please, can we talk when you get back? I want to make things right. I stared at the message for a long time. Sarah had always been the one to hold the family together, to be the perfect daughter-in-law. But I knew now that her perfection had been a mask. Beneath it, she was just as flawed as the rest of us. And maybe, just maybe, that was the key to healing. I wasn't ready to go back yet. I wasn't ready to jump back into the same old patterns. But I did feel something stir inside me. Maybe there was hope. Maybe, with time, we could rebuild. But would I be able to forgive them? Would they really change? And if I went back, would I ever truly be the same person again? Keep watching because the next part of this journey is about to unfold, and trust me, it's going to be a roller coaster. You won't want to miss it. The days in Paris were slipping by, each one more surreal than the last. I had started to embrace this new version of myself, someone free, someone rediscovering passions long buried. But as much as I tried to put the past behind me, it had a way of creeping back in. I'd made peace with my decision to stay here for now, to put space between me and the toxic dynamics I had endured for so long. But with each passing day, the emptiness of not seeing my grandchildren, the quiet ache of missing them, grew harder to ignore. They had been my joy, my reason for enduring the tough times, and now they were far away. It wasn't just them. It was Daniel. Sarah. The family I thought I knew. The reality of the situation hit me harder than I expected. How could I have spent all those years sacrificing so much of myself, only to realize that they saw me as disposable when I wasn't useful to their plans? But then there were the texts. The phone calls. The apologies. It started with Sarah. Her message was short but sincere. Helen, I've been thinking a lot about everything. I can't undo what we've done, but I can try to make things right. I hope you'll let us try. We miss you. I read her message several times. She had been part of the plan all along, but somehow, this time, her words seemed different. She seemed more human. More real. The walls between us had always been so high, and now they were crumbling. Slowly. Reluctantly. I put the phone down and looked out the window of my apartment, watching the streets of Paris come alive. People walked with purpose, children ran after pigeons, and the soft chime of church bells rang in the distance. The world moved on, whether I was ready or not. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I also didn't want to live in anger anymore. Forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for me. I had to free myself from the bitterness, the resentment. I couldn't keep holding on to the pain. It was time to move forward. I decided to call Daniel. The phone rang for what felt like an eternity before he picked up. Mom, his voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never realized how badly I hurt you. I never saw it until now. I've been thinking about everything, and I understand why you did what you did. I don't want you to be alone. I want to fix this. I closed my eyes, feeling a knot tighten in my chest. I wasn't ready to hear him. Not yet. But somehow, I had to. This wasn't just about my pain. It was about the future. Daniel, I said softly, my voice steady but not without emotion, you can't fix this overnight. And neither can I. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see where we go from here, as long as you understand that things can't go back to the way they were. I won't be your backup plan anymore. He was quiet for a long time. Then, finally, he spoke. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. We can start fresh. No more taking you for granted. You're not just my mom. You're Helen. And you deserve respect. I felt a shift in the air. The words he said, though simple, felt like a turning point. It wasn't about the house anymore. It was about respect. It was about setting boundaries. You need to earn my trust, Daniel. But I'm open to that. I'm open to trying, as long as it's with mutual respect. And it's not just for me. It's for the kids, too. I get it, Mom. I'm sorry for everything. I'll prove to you that I can be a better son. We ended the call with a sense of closure. A tentative beginning, perhaps. But a beginning, nonetheless. The following days were filled with small, incremental steps forward. I spent more time exploring Paris, meeting with old friends of Mary's, and attending the occasional gallery opening or art event. I was slowly rebuilding my sense of self. I was beginning to remember who I was before I became a mother, before I became a grandmother. But the truth was, I couldn't keep ignoring the fact that I missed my family. I missed the moments with my grandchildren. I missed the laughter, the chaos. But I had to be careful. I couldn't let myself fall back into the old patterns. I couldn't allow myself to be the person they turned to only when they needed something. One evening, as I was sitting in my apartment with a glass of wine, Mary came by for a visit. She had that look on her face, the one she always had when she was about to say something that might be uncomfortable. You know, she began, taking a seat next to me, I've been thinking. I'm proud of you, Helen. For standing up for yourself. For not letting them walk all over you anymore. But you can't live in Paris forever. Sooner or later, you'll have to go back. You'll have to face them. Not just for your peace, but for theirs, too. I took a deep breath. She was right. As much as I had found peace here, as much as I had rediscovered myself, I knew that eventually, I would have to go back. I had unfinished business. I had family to confront. And whether I liked it or not, I was part of their lives. I know, I said softly. But I'm not sure I'm ready yet. I don't know what I'm going back to. I don't know what's left for me there. There's something left, Helen, she replied. But you have to be strong enough to face it. And you can't let them push you around anymore. We sat in silence for a while, both lost in our thoughts. But I knew she was right. I couldn't hide forever. The next day, I made the decision. It was time to go back. It was time to face them. I booked my flight for the following week. I wasn't sure what I would find when I returned, but I knew one thing, I had changed. And no matter what happened, I wouldn't let them push me back into the shadows again. I called Daniel to let him know. I'm coming back, I told him, my voice steady. But I'm not coming back as the same person. I'm coming back as Helen. The woman who knows her worth. I understand, Mom, he replied. And I'll be waiting. We'll talk. We'll make it work. But I wasn't so sure. I wasn't sure if things could ever go back to the way they were. But I knew one thing for sure: I was no longer afraid of what was to come. But what would happen when I returned? Would they really respect me? Or would they try to pull me back into the same old patterns? The real challenge was just beginning. Stay tuned, the next chapter will reveal the truth, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. As I boarded the flight back to the States, I felt a strange mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Paris had been a sanctuary, a place where I had rediscovered myself, where I had learned what it meant to live for me and not for everyone else. But now, I was heading back to the very people who had made me feel invisible, to the very life that had suffocated me for so long. The plane ascended into the sky, and I watched as the city of Paris shrank below me. The thought of returning to the old dynamics with Daniel, Sarah, and the kids weighed heavily on my heart. Could things really be different? Or would I fall back into the same role I had always played, the self-sacrificing mother and grandmother who was there when they needed her but pushed aside when she wasn't? I wasn't sure. But what I did know was that I was no longer the same woman who had left. I had changed. And no matter what happened, I wouldn't let them push me around anymore. The flight was long, and I spent the hours reflecting on everything that had happened, everything I had learned. I thought about my relationship with Daniel. I thought about the way Sarah had treated me, the way they both had taken me for granted. But I also thought about the love I still had for them. Despite everything, I still loved them. I always would. But love without respect wasn't love at all. When I arrived at the airport, Daniel was waiting for me. He looked different. Thinner. More tired. His face was marked with the exhaustion of someone who had spent too long trying to avoid facing the truth. "Mom," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I'm so glad you're home." I stood there for a moment, unsure of how to respond. I wasn't the same woman who had left, and I needed him to understand that. "I'm not the same person I was when I left," I said softly. "I hope you realize that. I'm not just here to be your backup plan anymore. I'm here because I want to be. But I'm not going to let you treat me like I'm disposable again. I deserve more than that." Daniel nodded, his eyes welling with tears. "I know, Mom. I know. I've been thinking about everything we've been through. And I've realized that I haven't been the son you deserved. I've taken you for granted. But I want to change. I don't want to lose you." I saw the sincerity in his eyes, but I also knew that words were just that, words. Actions were what mattered. And I wasn't going to fall back into the old patterns. "I'm willing to try, Daniel," I said, my voice steady. "But it won't be easy. And it won't happen overnight. We both have a lot of work to do. You and me, and Sarah too." He looked down for a moment, as if considering what I had said. Then he looked back up at me, his expression soft. "I'm ready to do the work, Mom. Whatever it takes." As we drove back to the apartment, the weight of the moment started to settle in. This was it. The beginning of something new. But it wasn't going to be simple. The old wounds still existed. The hurt, the anger, the resentment, it was all still there, lurking beneath the surface. But I was determined not to let it control me anymore. I was determined to live on my terms. When we arrived at Daniel's house, Sarah was waiting for us. She looked just as tired as Daniel, but her eyes held a different kind of sadness. She had always been the picture of perfection, the one who held everything together, but now, I saw her for what she truly was, a woman who had lost herself in the chaos of family life, a woman who had tried to control everything and everyone, including me. Helen, she said softly, stepping forward. I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I want to apologize. For everything. For pushing you aside. For taking you for granted. You were always there for us, and I didn't see it. I didn't see how much you gave. I took a deep breath, trying to hold my emotions in check. I've been thinking too, Sarah. And I need you to understand something. I can't keep being the person you need me to be just because it's convenient. I need respect. I need boundaries. And I need to be seen, not just as a mother or a grandmother, but as Helen. She nodded, her face crumpling with emotion. I understand. I've been selfish. And I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I know it's going to take time. But I want to try. I want to rebuild what we had. I want to be a better person. I looked at both of them, standing there in front of me, and I realized that maybe, just maybe, we could start over. It wasn't going to be easy. But it was possible. We could rebuild, but it had to be on new terms. Terms that didn't involve manipulation or self-interest. It had to be based on mutual respect and love. I'm willing to try, I said, my voice softer now. But it has to be different. No more pretending. No more pushing me aside when it's convenient for you. We get it, Daniel said, his voice firm. We're ready. The next few weeks were filled with small, meaningful steps. We talked. We laughed. We cried. We began to rebuild what had been broken. But it wasn't just about the relationship with my son and daughter-in-law. It was about me. It was about reclaiming my life and my worth. I started painting again, more than ever before. I took the time to nurture my own passions, my own desires. I joined a local art group and began to exhibit my work. It was a new chapter in my life, one that wasn't defined by anyone else's expectations. But there was still something missing. I missed my grandchildren. I missed being a part of their lives. I knew that the relationship with Daniel and Sarah would take time, but I couldn't ignore the bond one had with them. So, I called Mason and Chloe. Grandma. Chloe squealed when she picked up the phone. When are you coming to see us? We miss you so much. I miss you too, sweetheart, I said, my voice filled with warmth. I'm coming to visit soon. And when I do, we're going to paint together. Just like I promised. Mason's voice came through the phone. Grandma, are you going to teach us to paint like you? Of course I am, I said, smiling. We'll have our own art day. Just you and me. As I made my plans to visit, I realized that this new life I was building was more than just a fresh start, it was a complete transformation. The journey wasn't over yet. There would be more challenges, more obstacles to overcome. But I was no longer afraid. I was finally living for myself. And that was all I needed to keep going. Stay tuned for more, because this story is far from over, the best is yet to come. As I look back on everything, I realize that this journey wasn't just about confronting my family or the house. It was about rediscovering myself and learning how to live for me, not just for everyone else. Life is full of surprises, and sometimes, it takes something drastic to push us into the next chapter. But the most important lesson I learned? It's never too late to take control of your life. To set boundaries. To stand up for yourself. And, most importantly, to remember that you are worthy of love, respect, and a life that reflects your true self. Thank you for watching this journey unfold. I hope my story has inspired you to take that first step toward reclaiming your own happiness, your own peace. Don't be afraid to make the tough decisions. They may be hard in the moment, but they will lead to the life you truly deserve. If you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Also, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on more stories like this. And leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a similar situation? How did you handle it? Until next time, remember, the best is yet to come.